Hi everybody, Keren here from tuppencecoloured.co.uk. Thank you very much for joining me for today's project, which is this Halloween card. And when I open it up, it does that. And if you stay with me, I will show you how I made it. To make this card, I've got two pieces of basic grey cardstock, which are 5.5 by 11 inches. And I'm going to begin by scoring them both at the 5.5 inch mark so that I have a square. When I fold them, I have a square greeting card. Alright, that's the same for that one. Right, now let's put these so that they fold the way that they're going to fold. So they're going to be stuck together like that. So that centre panel is going to be very sturdy. Now on the flap, that is going to be the front flap. So the left hand panel, I want you to score from bottom centre to top left. Right, is that right? So the way I've done it, I've taken a Sharpie marker and I've drawn a line on my scoreboard at the 6 inch mark, so I know that's where it finishes and that's where it starts, and I can just score across that way. Alright, now this is where you have to be careful because you can go quite wrong. This is where it will all go horribly wrong if you're not careful, because the fold on the right hand panel is parallel to the fold on the left hand panel. So again, this time I'm going from, can you see? Put that out of the way. I'm going from top center, okay, to bottom right on this panel. Okay, that could be better. Let me just redo that fold. Oops. Okay. And I'll get my bone folder and iron that out in just a moment. All right. So when you have the two pieces together, you have your line going that way and you have your line going that way. That is important because my natural instinct was to go, oh yeah, down that way and then up that way, and if you do that it will not work. Alright, has to be. I've burnished the folds with my bone folder and I was quite firm with that one, so I corrected where that fold went out of the channel there. And next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to put some adhesive on the center panels here. And put that off on one side to set up. I'm just making sure that everything is sitting level and is square, and that will be the base of my card. For the panel on the front of my card, I've used the 3 largest dies from the Lots of Labels framelit set, and I've cut the smallest of the 3 I've cut in Whisper White, and the next two sizes I've cut in Pumpkin Pie and in Basic Grey, because I'm not sure at the moment how I want the front to go together. So I'm not sure whether I want that or whether I want that. And there's my email chiming at me. Right, so I will decide which way I want it to go when I get towards finishing the end of my project. But I do know that I want the center panel to be Whisper White, and I do know that I want to sponge it in, and I've got Daffodil Grey, Rich Raspberry and Pumpkin Pie. So I'm going to start with the lightest colour, which is my Daffodil Delight, and I'm just going to go all over it. Okay, and I've already put some finger marks on it, and so what? It's not going to show in the final event. So that's just a layer of a light colour, and that will make the next layers work a bit better. So I'm going to close that one up in case I go mad and dip it in the wrong one. So this is now pumpkin pie. So I'm going to start the pumpkin pie off on my on my splodge mat, and I'm just coming in quite gently and quite lightly. Okay, I don't want to cover up all of that yellow in the middle. I want the colour to be strongest on the outside. But I do want it to be quite orangey. And I can darken up the edges a little bit here. And I do love doing this. This is back to my roots. This is getting messy and covered in ink. Okay, so shut up the pumpkin pie. And last of all, and I've got a brand new sponge for this, I haven't used this colour before, Rich Raspberry. Now, again, and I'm putting most of the ink off onto my blending mat here. So really getting rid of lots and lots of ink. And I can, the great thing about this sort of blending mat is I can pick it up again later. If I could have obviously used a bit of paper, but if I'd done that, once I'd done that, my ink would have been there for good. So very, very light touch now. Very, very, very light touch just around the edge of my card. And Rich Raspberry works with these colours because it's got red undertones. So it's a reddy purple rather than a bluey purple. If you use something like Perfect Plum or Elegant Eggplant on this, you would wind up with mud because they have more bluey tones, whereas this has warmer tones. Okay, so I'm going to come back with my Daffodil Delights and just blend over the top of that, just to make everything nice and friendly, and just a little bit of the pumpkin pie as well. So there is my panel for the front of my card. And I'm going to go wash my hands. I'm using this stamp set, which is called Spooky Fun, and I'm going to use Happy Halloween, and I'm going to use these 3 gravestones on my front panel of my card. And I am actually going to make use of my Misty. Now, this isn't absolutely essential, but if you have one, they do make your life a great deal easier in many ways. And if you don't have one, they aren't the cheapest things in the universe. I will say that. I got this when I had a good sales month, so I treated myself. But you know, Christmas is coming up. Stampin' Up, it's not a Stampin' Up product. I think it's My Sweet Petunia is the name of the company that do them. But if you want to get things absolutely, totally, precisely on the button, the Misty is your friend. So what I am doing is I'm putting my stamp where I want it to appear on my panel, and I close the Misty and pick up the stamp, and now I have basic black ink, and I'm just going to ink up my stamp. I'm going to make sure it's all covered. Although the good thing about the Misty is if you do make a mess of it, then you can go back and stamp again in exactly the same place. You can see I've got the lights flaring on that. I hope you can move out of the way a little bit. Yeah, that's better. You can see that a bit better. So there are my 3 gravestones, and actually, yeah, I could probably do with just moving that again slightly. Now, so I can go back and push again. Okay, so those are my 3 gravestones, and the other thing I want to stamp on here is my message, Happy Halloween. So I'm going to move that down to there so it's out of the way. I'm just going to line that up where I want it on my front panel and close the MISTI. Now if you haven't got a MISTI, then the Stamp-A-Jig will also do you a very good job of helping you to place your stamped image exactly where you want it. Now you see that's moved, which is very naughty of it. Again, and just push down, just move that out the way so you don't get the light flare. Right, now that is too faint, that isn't enough ink on there, so that's okay, it's not a disaster because I'm using the MISTI. I can just ink my stamp up again, and I can go back in and I can just stamp. And this time I have a lovely clear black image. I actually managed to get a smudge on there, so I'm just going to turn it into a bat. Just like that. Perhaps I'll draw in another one. Fairly wonky bat, but no. Just to make it look like I meant it. Okay. It's not a very good bat, but I don't know. I think that works for you. Maybe I'll put one more up the top later. I don't know. Okay. Right, so one more thing before I walk away from this particular panel. I have my water pen filled with water, water brush. I'm just going to get some water going here, and I'm going to do some faux bleaching. Now this is archival ink. Oops. So the outline should remain pretty much as I want it. Let's get the water going again. Don't want to over wet it because I am using Whisper White and not shimmering white or watercolor paper, but it just lifts up the color, just takes it off, just makes those, oops, I have an email, it just makes those gravestones just stand out a bit. I've cut some squares of DSP, 5 1/4 inches on a side, and I've got some pumpkin pie, and that is basic grey, that is smoky slate, that's basic grey, that's basic grey, and I want my paper to be that way up, and to make sure that everything is going in the right direction, I've done myself a little cheat sheet here. Alright, so if I want my words, my message to be going like that when I open the card, as opposed to like that, alright, I want to have my card folded so that, I put that way so I don't get all turned around, so that it is, that is the way that it's working. Makes sense? So my flappy bit is at the bottom left and top right and not anywhere else. Now I want this paper facing up, so I want to make sure I slice from that corner to that corner. So I'm going to bring in my Stampin' Trimmer and make sure I don't get turned around, because in the first take that was what I did. Okay, so I'm just putting my corner and my other corner level with my cutting channel, and I'm just going to slice that. And if I have done this correctly, I should now, oops, there goes my stamping trimmer, have my words. Right, so my paper is cut and it's going in the right direction, so now I want to apply it to the front of my card. And this time, unlike in the previous take, I will apply the adhesive to the right side of the paper. Move that around. That to be nice and square. Stick that down. Yes, and same for the other side. So that they are all joining up. Have I got this right? Yes, horrible moment of uncertainty where I think that I've got it all wrong. And I am directionally challenged. This is well known. I am well known for not being able to have a sense of direction at all. So that opens up beautifully just like that. So now I'm going to cover the other panels, and I think I'll have those there. And I'm probably going to fast forward this, so see you in a bit. Right, I think I've decided I want to grunge this front up a little bit. So I've got my pumpkin pie ink and this time I've got a finger nail. And I'm just going to go and sponge. Probably would have been easier if I decided to do this before I put the card together, but what the hey. And I'm just going to sponge along the edge there. Just to blend it all in a bit. Ooh! Oh crikey, I don't know what happened there. But never mind, we'll make a feature of it. The finger daubers do make this quite easy. Okay, so let's have a look at that, and let's bring in my panels, and I'll sponge these as well. So I'm sponging the pumpkin pie card with pumpkin pie ink, so I'm going tone on tone. And I'm being quite generous with it because I want it to look fairly spooky. And I've got smoky slate, which I'm going to put on top of the basic grey, because the basic grey ink is an archival. And it's also a little bit darker than I actually want to happen on my card. So let's just, and smoky slate and basic grey, they are friends. They do work together. Let's bring my panel back in. I'll just give that a little bit of smoky slate as well. Just for a little bit of added definition. The way. Right, I may go back and do some sponging on the inside, but I don't think so. Right, so I'm going to begin by layering up my panels. So I have snail, and it would be good if I used it the right way up. I don't know why I always pick the snail up upside down. It's a habit, and one I need to break, I think. So trying to get that reasonably even, and then that will go onto the front of that. And I'm keeping this quite flat because I am going to be coming in with some dimensionals in a moment. but not quite yet. Let's put that aside just for a second. So that is going to sit onto the front of my card thus. Right. Now it does, this kind of card, it does sort of pop up and down, and it is just the nature of the beast, but I want to tame it a little bit. So I have some smoky slate stitched ribbon, 1/8 of an inch stitched ribbon, and I'm going to cut off a fairly generous amount. I can adjust it afterwards. And ooh, I don't know what happened there. That looks fairly grungy. Oh dear, I appear to have had a pumpkin pie incident. Don't tell anyone. Okay. So that is going to go pretty much around the card thusly, like that. And I'm going to take it out on the back with a bit of fast fuse, I think. I'm just going to run some fast fuse right the way across the back of the card. And I'm not worrying too much about the fact that it shows, because in a minute, this is also why I'm not worrying too much about the pumpkin pie incident, I am going to come in with a piece of DSP. And that is going to go right over the top of it. So I can now tie a bow on the edge of my card, just like that, just like that, and that'll keep it closed. Right, I don't need to do that right this minute though. Right, so here is my panel, and I want to make sure that it sits on this side and it's not stuck on that side. So dimensionals, where are my dimensionals? Where have they gone? Oh, here they are. Okay, thought they'd been abducted by aliens for a moment. So where exactly do I want this? Right. So I'm going to put a dimensional there, and I'm going to put a dimensional there, and I'm going to put one on the bottom of the card here, and I'm going to put another one round about there. Right. Okay, and I want to make sure that that goes underneath. So let's take the back off the dimensionals, like so. Comme ça. And hold that straight. Now at this point, if you have a crafty helper, now is the time to get them on board with you, to try and line everything up and get everything centered. And there we are. So when I open my card, my ribbon pops out. Oh, that was a mess. Okay, well, I will just make it so that it hides underneath there like that. Yeah. And that is what I did not want to do. I will move that one down a bit. Okay, so that lies underneath there. That's better. Oh, it's not a good day. Okay, that's better. So now when I open my card, my ribbon pops away. Right, now inside here, I want to have a space to put a message. So I have a piece of Whisper White, which is 4 3/4 inch square. And I was going to stamp a message on it, but you know what? The way things are going today, I think I'm not going to risk it. But you could. Okay, but some more of the pumpkin pie incident there. Okay, so I have space in there to write my message, such as it is. And my ribbons go top to bottom, so that all closes up beautifully like that. And then I can bring that underneath my panel. And I can, I meant to do that. That's what I meant to do all along. Of course I did. There are no mistakes in craft, just changes of design direction. There it is, all finished, and I did go back and draw in a third bat. It just seemed to need it somehow, and I tidied up those bats as well. So I'm a little bit happier with those now. And just to remind you, when I open the flaps, there inside I have a nice big space to write a message, or I could stamp another sentiment inside. And if I show you the back, so we had a little bit of a pumpkin pie incident there, but I'm not going to let that worry me. I'm not going to let it spoil my day. So I do hope that you have enjoyed watching this project. Let me put all of that back together and tie the ribbon back round so that's nice and neat and tidy. And here now is my finished triangle fold card. 3, 2. Okay, we had a bit of a pumpkin pie incident. I'm not quite sure how that happened, but somehow or other I managed to get pumpkin pie ink onto the back of my card here, and also got it down the bottom there, but I'm not worrying too much about that because that is kind of fits in with the vibe, and that is clearly a mistake, right? That is clearly not meant to be there. So the way to deal with a mistake in stamping is to make it a change of design direction and make it look as though you meant it to be there. Okay, so I have this fabulous stamp set, Ghoulish Grunge, and I'm going to use that stamp and with some pumpkin pie ink, and I am going to put that there, and all of a sudden those spots look like they were meant to be there. Yes, the day is saved. Ta-da! And that's my finished card. And as you can see, I did go back and I added my third bat because I just thought it needed it. And so there is my finished card. And as you can see, I did go back and I added the third bat because I thought it just needed it. I'm just going to call that a day, because this hasn't been the smoothest project that I've ever done in my life. So I'm not pushing my luck. I'm not going to do anything further. So thank you very, very much for joining me. I do hope that you've enjoyed this video, and if so, then please do click the like button, leave me a comment, subscribe to my channel. I'm going to be posting more very, very soon. I don't know, share this video, go to my blog, go to my Facebook page, you know what to do. But for now, thank you very, very much for joining me, and I will see you again soon. Bye-bye. Bit of snail. The snail is fine for this. And put the snail on the right side of the paper, Keren. Don't believe I did that.